this is a Yuema tensioning tool of my own design. Okay. It's stuck. Okay. And again, this tensioning tool, it just has some ridges here. And those ridges are approximately where the bitting points are. So the deal is you move the sliders, and once they pop down, they get stuck there and can't slide back. See, there's no real bitting. It's just sort of as if it were blank bitting. So this tensioning tool is tall enough so that it pushes all of the wafers up, and so as they come down, they pop down and they can't move back up, and pop down and can't move back up, and pop down and can't move back up. That also means you have to watch out very carefully for oversetting. Okay, let me see if I can turn off that lock. Okay. Obviously I've cut this one in half. We put this back in. You can see that that back part is rotating, so that is engaged. Oop, this is the front plate. Here. Right. And so if I lock that back up, just like that, and then, you know, obviously this thing by itself does not turn anything, right? Just to make sure it's not like, oh, I 3D printed a key, I picked the Yuema 750, woo. There were a few iterations of this tensioning tool, but I finally came up with something that seemed to work, at least for this guy. Now these are awful to gut, and well, really it's awful to put back together. I want to use the key to gut this thing. Oh, you know what? You can't. That's right. Also, maybe you can see in here. Did that autofocus not go? There. So if you can see that little sidebar down there, when I put the key in, it drops away. And that's what makes sure that the core interacts with the sleeve here that allows this to turn. But that also means it's stuck in the sleeve and won't come out. So you have to pull it out without the key in there, which also means lots of stuff is going to want to spring out at me. Come on. I better do it this way, and you'll see why maybe. Okay, watch out, because these wafers are such a pain. Something dropped in there. Did I lose a spring? Okay. And here's the sidebar that interacts with the wafers. You can see it's got this little groove to it. And these wafers, when they're not going to line up because, can I get these all? Now, as soon as you open these things, they get all jacked up. It's awful. There we go. Hopefully you can see those wafers all line up in sort of a V, but it's a really big V, right? It's relatively a lot of space, and there are no false gates or anything in there. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be good. So I'm going to take it apart this way. You'll see little grooves in the sides of these wafers that indicate what that cut of that wafer is. Come on. Okay. And I'll take the little springling from that guy. This wafer. This wafer. Once you can get the sidebar to start binding, really it's very straightforward with that lack of any false gates or anything like that. I mean, these grooves want to meet up with this sidebar. The only reason that they don't is because these springs here are much stronger than the springs that are pushing that sidebar down. This is not entirely dissimilar to the method Pick in Paradise, used when he got the very official first public pick of the Yuema 750. He had used some heat shrink tube and some wires to jam down there that would keep the wafers from springing back. Whereas I designed and printed a little tensioning tool that has these ridges here that catch on the wafers. And these things are a slight pain to disassemble and an awful pain to reassemble. Huge hassle. Are you going to come out the other side? What is your deal? What are you doing? I have had enough of your shenanigans. All right, let me get the springs out, because those are the things that will go flying. All right, that one went flying. One spring down. All right. Are you? I don't think it wants to come out the other side either. All right, that's a first. There we go. And that is it's a little tiny spring, so I kind of have my doubts that I'm going to find it right away. But everybody pretend that you saw it there. What else do I... Oh, yeah, then I have this part. And this part... Oh, all right, that side part came out. Are you serious? Then there's this sidebar, and this is the one that gets pushed down by... Oh, come on. Somewhere I've lost another one. So there's two of these. There's two of these, and you can see where they sit, maybe in there. And they're super hard to get loaded back into there, and then get this in place. And honestly, it would be a lot harder to pick without one of those, because those are the things that are trying to push the sidebar down into the grooves. Oh, is that... There's the other one, okay. There's a springling somewhere. Well, you get the idea anyway. Looks like I don't know, the spring and a wafer hopper. I hope these are right. Probably never going back together. That's all right. I did what I needed to with it. So you can see there's the little nub that interacts with the key. Those two sit in the body. This is where the spring sits. Again, you can see these grooves that indicate what cut it is, and that's sort of the relative position of the nub from where this groove sits. I think there are only 4 positions. That's what I planned on when I made that temperature tensioner. Temperature. So it'll be marked by either a no mark, 1, 2, or 3 marks on those little wafers there. And let me pull one up just to get a better view of it. And as you can see, hopefully there's really nothing going on in there. I can't tell if this is in focus or not. But there's no interference there. Everything wants to fall into into that notch. Right, but the springs are pushing it so hard they don't want to. And then this little guy who's had some practice, so it's kind of falling apart. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but it sticks, comes down a level and sticks, comes down a level and sticks. Right. Or maybe it goes the other way. I think it's just this way. Yeah. So here's the farthest side, then sticks, sticks. Oh, you can't see that. And where did that guy sit? I don't know how well you can see those ridges from these angles. Yeah, I think you can see it that way. So anyway, with this, whoa, I've just about busted this guy out. Putting too much tension with the little, where that guy went. There's a thinner version of one of these. So this is what basically helps me keep the wafers in place. And then I stick this in here to help me control actually turning it, because you'll have to test turn it, and if it binds up, right, so normally that is sticking up, and this is trying to push it down. And if you start to turn it before this has fallen down, it'll bind up against the side wall here. Oh, here's that other spring. Ah. Cool. Yay. You don't have to imagine so hard. Okay. You can see, so the whole deal is you got a sidebar that sits up there, and then that's this one. So while it's see, even by itself, it's hard to get it to behave. So while it's being pushed up, this sleeve won't turn anyway. Right, so it's not a matter of just forcing everything up. Right, that has to come down, and I guess really it does two things. For one thing, it frees the sleeve from the outside of the lock body here, but it also causes the core to interact with the sleeve, right? So it's two functions. First, it stops blocking the sleeve from turning, and then it basically attaches the core to the sleeve. And then that way, when the core turns, the sleeve will turn as well. When it's not there, the sleeve will turn, or the core will turn by itself inside the sleeve. So I need to get this sidebar to come down and attach the core to the sleeve so that it will actuate the lock. Right, but But this guy is pushed down by these two little tiny springs, and these all have their own individual springs that are trying to stop that from happening by keeping this from falling inside. All right, but once that falls down, this sidebar, oh, right, so as you're tensioning it, this one, the inner sidebar, will bind up against it. And so then even if you had it picked perfectly, it couldn't fall down. All right, so you'll start picking it and then have to test it, rotate it back a little bit, test it, rotate it back a little bit until you have enough wafers picked that that'll start to come down. And then sometimes it'll be just enough to get it to start turning in here, where this is dropped down, maybe not all the way, but just enough to bind up against that. And then you can, basically, then you can take everything out and just sort of pick it like a normal lock, as long as you don't mess up and move one of these wafers too far, because then it'll pop everything back up into there if it's not lined upright. These cuts were made when I was taking this body apart. This is the prettiest job I have done disassembling a Yuema body. So it's been a mess. Where'd that little smiley face cover go? I don't know. Somewhere around here there's that extra little faceplate. But anyway, that's a Yuema 750 picked and gutted. And there it is.